Parliament today, we are talking about unleashing your inner goddess.
So go ahead, unleash your inner goddess today. Embrace all the fabulosity that is the amazing you. So, as women, it is so important for us to take a step back and rebalance to ensure that we care about our physical, our emotional, and mental well being.
Yeah.
Nurturing and honoring this divine feminine energy, awakening our sensuality, our creativity, and incorporating mindfulness, playfulness, and a bit of pampering, day to day lives that can bring a balance holistically. So when we talk about the goddess, I always refer to the moon because I am
love
very
the moon.
connected to the moon.
Me too. I'm a moon child.
I mean, the other day was a blue moon, and I was just like,
forgot about it. I didn't see
yeah,
that.
the blue moon, and it's always about intuition and growth and spirituality. So, what are the ways that we have learned to explore our feminine energy, that has allowed us to embrace our inner goddess?
Inner goddess. So what you just went through, and I loved it, but I just hope it's not too much hard work, Katie. Is it? Do you think unleashing our inner goddess is hard work? But before you go there, let me tell you, for me, where I'm sitting with it, and then you can respond, right? I think it's about embracing what's already inside and letting go of the societal pressures, for instance, connecting with myself deeply. I always feel I'm in this space, this time of my life is about connecting deeply with myself. So letting go of the perfectionism, connecting with nature and finding joy in the little things like that life has to offer me. And just showing up kind of authentically as me, but with confidence, with presence, with sexuality, with femininity, with and I think the goddess then kind of appears by herself.
I think we all are goddesses.
Yes.
However, some of us are aware of it much younger.
Yeah.
So I don't know when people say that some women are just born with it. I believe we're all born with
We're all born with it. It's about
the goddessness that we are. It's how do we awaken it?
yes. I love that actually.
And it's like, how do we
Awaken
it?
the goddess from within.
Yeah, how have we awakened it? And I think for me, it was an escape when I was younger, reading Mills and Boons, reading those.
You sat behind the stove also read it because my dad wouldn't let me read those things, and I would sit behind.
I used to sit in my prayer mat and pretend and praying with my book underneath. So it was that, and I think it really stemmed from for me a very young age.
Yeah.
In the way I addressed people, in the way I spoke, in the way I don't know. I had an aunt that was very very calm and feminine, and I learned a lot from her, the way she walked and the way she talked, and that for me was it was just like a connection.
Yeah.
So yeah, how I awaken mine is really reading those books.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say that I'm a storyteller, because I live my life through my storytelling.
Yes.
And even when music that was played back in the days, we often spoke about that as well, is that they had such meaning to us, because then that's how it was like the songs were written for us.
The songs.
And it just awakened us. It awakened for me, my sensuality. And I love that.
And it is, again, it stems back to how we've been raised in many ways, right? Because it is entrenched in everything we said. The magazines, the stories, the movies we watch, the stories we read, the books that we read. And as much as it was a very specific kind of image of what womanhood and what a goddess kind of meant or what was about, we had to nurture it as we went on in life for us to own it.
And how did you nurture it?
So again, for me, because life was, you, life was, there was a time in my life where I didn't have the confidence when I was younger. And I'll always go back to, because how my childhood played out, with as much as I was inside my family,
Mhm.
I was always that girl that probably loved sitting in front of the mirror and doing my makeup. And even when I went fishing with my dad, I would, you know, those were always my role play.
Mm.
I would role play
And I
being that
like that.
girl.
I like that role play
Uh,
because I think even me, I
yes,
enjoyed that role play when we
yes.
were younger. You
But
imagine you're
you imagine
friends of famous
yeah, or
people and
princess or anything like
yeah.
that. But as life went on and life started happening and life became very confusing for me, I didn't believe in myself that much. I didn't think I was that princess. I didn't think I was that goddess until such time that I worked through my childhood traumas, right? And at that time, as I said before, to you, maybe in conversations that we've had, what was the turning point for me was when I started reflecting on my life and I started connecting with my inner self. And that was a time, and that is why this notion of, um, you know, self, what do we call it?
Awareness?
Awareness,
Yeah.
self awareness
Mm.
is such a big thing for me, because once you delve into that, and I really started understanding the concept of self awareness and what is important to me,
Mhm.
I could then start embracing that inner
Yes.
goddess that
Yeah.
was lying dormant within me for
Ye-
so long.
So for me, as when I was younger, I knew that I wanted to be in the spotlight,
Mm,
and for positive things, not
yeah,
negative things.
yeah,
So for me, I knew that I could have entered the Miss South Africa if I wanted
yeah,
to, but my dad said no.
yeah.
So I knew I wanted to be in the spotlight. That's where I belonged, because I knew I was born to be great, to
Mm,
create impact,
mm,
and for me, in order for me to show the world what I had to be me and I had to be great. And what did that great meant for me was looking good, smelling good, speaking well, articulating myself well, um, you know, learning the art of charm, being having a level of mystique in me. So
mm,
as much as people think that they know us, they don't really know us.
yeah,
And those are the things that I, again, intentionally and purposefully started to learn.
yeah.
And how did I do it? Watching movies, watching documentaries, reading a lot of books, reading a lot of books about role models that I
Mm,
looked up to. So how did they do it,
yeah.
and the way they did it. And I spoke once about the book that I got, Barbara Walters, and in her book, she said she was the only female that was on a late night talk show, and when she finished her shift, she walked downstairs from the studio, and there were the ladies of the night down, and she would get into her car, um, and she looked at them, and it was like, well, you know, you have charm and I have charm.
And we just
we
both embracing
we
our
are
inner
both
go.
embracing our inner
Interesting.
goddess. I think she when she stopped and she looked at them, and looked at them, and seen how that they have a charm, and she has a charm that she uses in a corporate world, and they have a charm as ladies of the night, and how she acknowledged the fact that she and the ladies of the night used their seduction and their charm to stroke other people's egos.
So interesting and beautiful, because what she's actually doing is that she's not
Judging
judging,
the
and
women.
she's looking at it and saying, I have my place and you have your space, or your, and you, we both showing up in that as goddesses. I love that.
Yeah. And I
Right.
think and I think those are the things that I have learned
Mm,
and have taken
mm,
for myself when I talk about being a goddess
yes.
and being an unapologetic
Yeah.
goddess. Um, and if you think about, being a goddess, it's like it's not somebody that's just a soft natured
No.
person. It's somebody that
That
has
has
confidence, and
confidence
has a
and
level of power
presence.
and presence. And I think that is what um, I have learned how to
Mm.
unleash in these kind of things.
So what I'm hearing you say is that there was a time when you were not this seductive, person who embraced your inner goddess, or do you think that was
No,
always there,
no,
or
no.
has it changed?
I would think personally I was there, but for my personal self, maybe in my relationships, in my personal self, I was there, but I limited it to just a home. And then all of a
Mm.
sudden, when I started being softer and more charming from a work perspective, I
Mm.
started seeing the difference in there. I
Mm.
started being softer, and
Yeah.
it just, oh, is this what the mystique is all
Mm.
about?
And was it intentional? Did you see, oh, if I go there, then there's gonna some doors will open for me, or relationship would be easy? Was there some benefit to
It
it for
was
you?
definitely
And
better.
was it intentional?
It was very intentional of how I think I wanted to be in my personal
Yeah.
self. So it wasn't for the moment.
Yes.
So if you see me, I'm always somebody, oh, darling, oh, darling.
Yes, you
Or I
are.
would tap somebody on their shoulder when I
Mm.
speak to
Mm.
them. I think it's what I've learned over the
Mm.
years. So it's not I'm doing it because I want something.
Mm.
I'm doing it because if I speak to someone now and I tap them on the
Mm.
shoulder while I'm speaking to them, it's because I'm showing a level of
Mm.
respect. I'm showing them I'm present.
Yeah.
So a lot of the art of charm, the art of seduction, the art of being a goddess
Mm.
comes with uh, actionable stuff.
Yes. I personally feel that I'm currently comfortable with embracing my inner goddess.
Mhm.
And it sits well in my gut. But in a world where there are so much pressure on women to conform to certain standards, it can be difficult to find ways to express that for certain women. At the moment, you and
Mm.
I think we've arrived. What is your take on that? Because I think it's not that easy for everybody to show up. There are insecurities, but that inner goddess is lying there dormant. But how do people?
Spend time with the right women.
Thank you.
When you spend time with the right women,
Yeah,
they will be a goddess tribe.
yeah,
And I
I
have
love
that.
that.
I have that. They
Yeah,
root for you. It's a support group. They kind of nurture your soul
yeah.
and recharge your feminine
And they make
energy.
you okay for being who you are,
Yes.
but they also help you pull it out,
Yeah.
right?
So it's so in that saying, it's like looking
For that.
for that real connection. And of course it's different. So, if you're corporate and you want to hang out with friends that are corporate, if you're a mom, don't feel that you're a mom and you've got to go to school to drop off kids and hang out with goddess like moms as well,
And they're there.
so don't feel that you and they are there. So I think it's a really the purpose driven brand is to create the goddessness um within the spaces that you are
Yes.
in. So always watch out for what are the events coming up. So as an
Yes.
example, I the now there's going to be Candace Bushnell, who's the
Mm.
the author of Sex in the City, and I think for me,
Are we going there?
yes,
Yes.
so I want to get my tribe and go to the books, the book. I mean, of course, the book, the signing,
Mm.
and go and experience time with the women that has uh, created a legacy where women from the was it the
Everybody
90s, every color, every age
was watching.
was watching it,
Yeah.
that felt they were either a Carrie Bradshaw, or they were either
Mm.
a Samantha, or
Something.
something. And that for me is legendary.
Yeah.
So I will get a tribe of my women to go and spend time with Candace Bushnell and say, like, you've changed our lives.
We're going to dress up and show up.
Exactly. And then people like her. So, it's like it's a constant evolution of things, right? People like her that has allowed us to understand what it feels like to please a man,
Mm.
and not to please a man, and the way she has written about it, how being a goddess, how to fall in love and how to deal with heartbreaks, and how to but still have in all of this your great tribe.
Mm.
I think Sex in the City for me was also one of the most profound times of my life, and
Yeah.
it continues
And
to
also at the
do it
time when when Sex and
when
the
it
City
was
became,
taboo
yes,
to
when it,
talk
yeah,
about.
which is actually, that is actually because that created the talkability around it.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
also we also felt like we were one of the friends.
Yeah.
We all felt
Yeah.
like we were a Samantha, or we
Yeah,
were
or
Carrie,
yeah.
and you
And
know,
we could identify with this.
yes.
Well, we couldn't do it because there were taboos, but we were living through them.
So yeah, so definitely do that. And of course, coming from television shows and movies and
Mm,
music, is it all sparks your
mm.
creativity. And what is
Talking
your
about create. No, but talking. No, I want to go to a different creativity here because this is where you come in, and I'm learning from you as
Okay,
well.
so
I've
it's
got
like
my own thing. You know
so
what I want to tell you? Wait, Katie. Wait, hold on to that point. Creativity. We're talking creativity, we're talking inner goddess, we're talking unleashing this inner goddess. But I want to get back to, just for a moment, stopping at the outer goddess.
Mhm.
Because I don't actually, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me, this inner goddess also depends a lot on the outer goddess in terms of how you show up. You can't really be a frumpy person out there. I hope I'm not offending anybody,
Mhm.
but
Each to his own.
being each to his own. But being a goddess in many ways, a confidence booster for me and for you, and it might not work for everybody else. But I know you and I need to show up with a certain look, a certain feel. We need to feel a certain way, wear certain things. Our hair must be,
Mhm.
but it must be authentically us. So
Mhm.
as much as we are the same, we are different. You have your look, I have my look. We do things, but without that, I don't know if I could so confidently be
Exactly.
that inner goddess.
You have to have the externals, because if people see you, they must believe that the inner is equally the outer. I mean, of course, if you have an inner heartbreak, nobody will know that you're having a heartbreak
Yeah,
if you don't tell them. So
or
for
show
me,
it.
it's about, how do I show up? I love the way I smell. So for me, important that when I step in, my fragrance,
Mm.
stands out. That is my signature fragrance.
And it's part of that whole
Yes,
sensuality.
exactly. And it's also my curves that I'm proud
Oh,
of.
yes.
That I do have curves in the right places. My voice. So my voice definitely is something that I've also learned to play with as well.
Mm.
My energy. I mean, the other day I walked on set for an interview, and the journalist said, "You have such a magnetic energy." So that for me is how I show up on the external side. My warmth that I have,
Mm.
like I said, I would touch someone if
Yeah.
I have to acknowledge them. Wit, also just make fun and, haha, have a
Yes.
little joke. And I think with all of that, it shows my strength.
Is it not also, as a woman, understanding or being clear about what it is that your most attractive features are? So, and you play with that. So, have you found it interesting if you ask people, what do you love about yourself externally or
Mm,
internally?
mm,
People struggle to answer that question.
mhm,
But if I know that my eyes are
mhm.
magnetic or it's very attractive, I think when you know what is beautiful about yourself, or just one thing, whether it is your externally, maybe your eyes or your nose, or if it is your curves, you
Yeah,
can accentuate them
exactly.
so that you appear more sensual. And then you also know what personality traits of yours are very appealing, and you play to that,
You
and that pulls together the whole sensuality
inner outer
picture.
goddessness as
Hmm.
well. And I do agree with that, is that I've also had insecurities about that. So yes, I've had all these, inner goddess, and mine's all
But
awakened and all, I'm sensual inside. But I had my external insecurities that I had to work
yeah.
with. But also, like, we had to work through how other people see you,
Mm,
and actually acknowledge that, hey,
mm,
listen, so currently now, with my transformation and evolution of my hair,
mm.
it literally, when I walk into a room,
You own it.
I own it, but people gravitate to
Yes.
that color of
Yeah.
my hair. Is that your own color?
They ask you all the
It
time.
suits you so well. So for me, it is, if you put a lot of women in a room together,
Mm,
and if you all walk in, automatically people will identify the woman that will stand out.
exactly.
And I always, sometimes, and we talk about it, is that, in my 50s, where people do call you old or ancient on social media, and you start feeling invisible. You're like, is it are we old and people are mean
Yeah.
to us? And then you have somebody that meets you, and he would say to you, um he would compliment you a couple of times, purely because he says, and I love this about this person that I met, and he said to me, I hope you don't feel invisible today. Because when he found out that I feel invisible, he made an effort to make sure, and it's not somebody I'm dating, or it
Mm.
was like, it's a friend. And the one thing that stood out to me is, he said to me, he said, you probably, I mean, of course, it was quite bizarre the way he said it. He says, you look like your ancestors could be Nefertiti, and or a Cleopatra.
Goddesses.
And I was like, and he's like, I hope you don't feel invisible today. And how, wherever
Yeah.
it came from, and however he meant it, I
Mm.
took it. I
Yes.
received
You
it.
received
And
it.
what is so amazing about it? I have a pair of earrings that has Nefertiti's. And that was like, it was just so thing. So now
It was a
it
sign.
was a sign. But I needed that. I
Mm.
needed that
Mm.
affirmation. I
Yeah.
needed that validation for someone to make me feel that the outer goddess is being seen.
Is being seen,
So
yes.
I think that is something now I know. If I stand out in a room, I know that I do create, who is she, if people don't know me.
Mm.
And I love
But,
that.
but, and I always, me, I'm always going to have a but. That Nefertiti or Cleopatra that he saw, uh, and this is just my opinion on this, I don't think he would have seen that or mentioned that if that person didn't come with that inner goddess of confidence.
Mhm.
Because isn't that still the
Yeah.
most appealing, quality of a woman?
And to your point, um, probably 16 odd years ago, I was fortunate to be at the seat of a table with some very influential women when I was at the SABC, and there was a a very well known psychologist called Dr. Tony Luck, and we all spoke about. How we feel and how we show
Mm.
up for people and how we feel. And the one thing I said to her is, and this was many years ago, because that's when I was probably insecure about myself. And I said to her in front of everybody, we just went around the table, and I said to her, I said, Dr. Luck, I always feel that people look at me. But I used it as a negative. Now I know it's a positive, but it was like
Mm.
negative. It was like, Dr. Luck, what people always are walking to a plane. I
And they're
just like,
staring at
people just
me.
stare at me.
Yeah.
And she used the most profound words that I've never forgotten. And she said, my darling child, it's because you're an atmosphere changer. When you
Amazing.
walk into a room, you will change the atmosphere. 7 years ago, I bumped into her in Parktown, and I went up to her, and she's, much older now. And I went up to her and I said, Dr. Luck, you changed my life. When you told me that that I was an
You're an
atmosphere
atmosphere
changer,
changer.
her words to me is, you
Yeah.
haven't changed a bit. And I think it
Amazing.
is the validation that we need when it comes to the outside of how this inner goddess awakens.
That's a profound statement to make, and but there's always going to be a message for me in that, and that's a message to us as women and people, is that there's always a way for us to say something to somebody else
Mhm,
truthfully
mhm.
that can actually help them awaken the goddess from within.
Exactly. So, you know, um, Esther Perel has been on all our TikToks, and she's
Mm,
been recently everywhere. And I
me
love
too.
her, and I love how she brings out the goddess in me in the
Mm.
way she speaks. And
It's her voice also, man.
it is her voice and just being French. So the art of seduction, she says, lies in knowing how to listen and observe. It's about understanding the other person's desires and responding accordingly. And seduction is not about sex,
Mm.
it's about a connection. And if I look at what Esther Perel has said, I would take that into every part of my life, whether it's my friendships, whether it's my from work, as well as possible future
Yeah.
relationships. Because seduction is a game of psychology. It is how someone becomes a master of the game. And seduction comes from the mind, from the voice inside of you, that knows what you truly are. And it actually has become a dying art, don't you think? Not too many people are making an effort
Yeah, because it's online and it's social media and it's no personal connection and it's all of these things.
because it seems as though like seduction requires the right body, the
Mm.
right personality, so people just don't make an effort.
Make an effort.
So,
That's the thing.
mhm,
There's no effort.
mhm.
The effort has gone
So if we talk about
or
seduction,
diminished.
well, it's diminished, it's gone. I think men I don't think are making a lot of effort to seduce women these days. As I look at
But
my
isn't it
male
a dual
colleagues.
thing?
Well, it is. So let's talk about that. So some techniques that I have used,
Mm.
you know,
First, before you go there, are you a grandmaster of seduction or just a entry level master?
oh
Where are you at
no,
now?
I'm a grandmaster of
Okay.
seduction.
Okay.
I am.
Go for it.
Okay, so some of the techniques that I use, it's really making eye contact, and I've said this how when you are present, and seduction is like I'm really speaking about is nothing to only do about sex, just about sex.
Mm.
It's really about making eye contact. It's really about locking eyes with someone and trying to hold their gaze for their attention,
Mm.
and that's something that I know that I'm loving because I can see the impact that it
Mm.
is creating. People are seeing that I am authentic when I'm doing that. So of course,
Mm.
if you're walking over to someone to make a conversation,
Mm.
it's make eye contact with them because people are very attracted to people who pay attention to them,
Mm.
and I've noticed that.
Yes, and I agree with that. You said that it's about listening
Yeah.
and communication. So I do agree. I think when when you want to seduce people into anything, I mean, and it sounds horrible, hey, like if you want to seduce people, but it's not. It's about you
But we're
saying it's
changing the narrative of what
yes,
seduction
yes,
means
it's
because there's
changing. It's
charm,
not.
there's a
It's
whole,
charm.
yeah.
But I do agree with listening, and you know, it's about making people feel important
Mm-hmm.
and making them feel heard. It's so if I walk up to you, and people love to hear about themselves also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People love hearing about
Mm-hmm.
themselves. So it's not arriving there and just talking about me, 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 me,
Mm-hmm.
me, but it's actually saying, okay, here I am, you have my attention,
Mm-hmm.
the way
Mm-hmm.
you look at them, the way you connect, or even that, like you said, you sometimes would touch somebody. I mean, some people will see that as flirting, but I think that's their own
Okay,
personal
but flirting
internal
is also
problems.
another thing,
It's
and
also part of
but
it.
flirting I do, but it would be with relevant people. So
Yeah,
I know where to,
yes,
I know how to play the
yeah.
game, and I
But
would
it's
say,
about, I mean, for me, it's about giving people that time and
yeah,
space and saying, yeah, I'm
yes,
listening. You are important enough.
yes.
That kind of
So
thing.
I think also it's the way, and I've learned this as well. I've always had a great posture.
Mm.
And I know that it's part of having charm
Yeah.
and having this goddess like look is ever since I was a little girl, it's just making sure I have my because my posture upright, because you can't
And
have a
folding your
conversation and
arms
fold your
and
arms and all of that stuff.
yeah,
So
it's the
because
body
it really
language.
conveys like you're not interested in that. So really, having I've always known that has just worked. Having, and also just not having too many things while you're talking
Yeah,
to someone as well. Leave the things down, and then you
and
have,
be
yeah.
present.
So I think that is very, important. And also, I've also learned about the the tone of my voice,
Mm.
and for me, just my tone has changed over the years. Uh, I would have loved to have a deeper, huskier. I listen to some women. I just think that there's a calmness in voices
Mm.
that
Mm.
is very seductive in the way whether you presenting in corporate, or you having conversation with friends. The voice is, I've learned that I don't need to raise my voice
Mm.
to be loud to get
To
myself
to
heard.
get yourself
I've
heard.
also learned that from you as well.
But sometimes I'm quite.
Yeah, yeah. So, and again, it's about, I've also learned that part of seduction and charm is making people feel special.
Mm.
Because I think that's genuine, like you said, a genuine interest in what people like
Yeah.
to do, what are they doing. So, yeah, so I think that, and you said about how we should listen and share. And I think that's what is part of the charm and seduction. So, we talking about our charm and seduction, but what are the principle of sexiness and seduction? Because like we said, is that I think that sometimes we in a relationship perspective, we've lost the charm of seduction.
Mm.
Um,
So, okay.
Flirting
Yeah.
with your partner, sexting,
Mm.
making sure that when you are ready to get your groove on, a quickie is a quickie,
Mm.
but if you're getting your groove on, candles, music.
And we're talking now with an actual partner, or are you just saying generally if you're getting into a situation?
Well, if I'm going to get into a
A
situation, I'm
situation.
saying
Okay.
that that's what I do. But it's what I have done. And I think this is where I am.
Mm.
It's like I make an intentional effort to have all of that as part
Yeah.
of my seduction.
Mm.
Just
Yeah.
get the right things at the right time.
Yeah.
I know some people say, oh, I don't have time for that. But
No, but there must be time for
of
it.
course.
Now, in my opinion, all of what we've just discussed, for me, then leads into a more meaningful finding the situation. Yeah. We're not going to go into this now. This is not entanglement yet, right?
No, we're not talking, but it's ultimately how do you master the art of seduction? And
Mm.
seduction does not have to mean it. You can break it down into different things,
Mm.
right? And I think it's about, and you can only do that if you're charming,
Mm.
if you're confident,
Yeah.
and you make other people feel at ease.
Feel
And I
at
think
ease
that's
and
how
heard and
I've
listened
broken
and
that
yeah.
down into that. So yes, so in saying that, flirtation is part of seduction in the way you would flirt, whether you meet people. I think I was born a flirt. My dad told me I might have flirted with a gynecologist when I was
Yeah.
born. I was born a flirt. I've
I was
always
called a flirt all my life.
yes,
You
I've
know?
always been a flirt.
Yeah, because but you see, it's my personality.
There must be another word for that because I think flirt means you're trying to get something
Yes,
out of
but
somebody, but I don't
yeah,
think I'm doing that.
yeah.
I just think it's a little bit easier. So if we're walking in a plane, I look at a guy and if he wants to pick up my bag, it's going to be okay. Back in the days, I could pick up my own bag. Now I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
but what I have experienced in my life is that earlier on younger years, and I don't know, maybe now I don't care about it, but then it bothered me because I was always told that my personality was one of men might get the wrong
yeah,
idea. But it was just me being me. I would touch.
yeah,
I am that
yeah.
person. I would hug, I would touch, I would laugh.
Mhm.
Those kind of things. But it
But I
is
think
just
you pick up
part.
who would take it the wrong way or not. I think we also grown up now to know who would take it the wrong
Yeah.
way, and I think we know we guard ourselves to that.
But sometimes you don't, not even aware of it. You are just expressing who you are
No, I'm very,
naturally.
very clear now with the current conditions of the
Oh,
world about
okay.
harassment and all of
Uh,
that. I don't do that with anybody. I wouldn't just hug anybody
yeah.
if I know.
I hug everybody.
No, I'm very clear about
Yo.
that. But I think the one thing I want to cover is really about, we when we speak about all of this is how pretty privilege is real. Um,
Mm.
and it's time that we talk about it because it is part of being a goddess. It's part of charm. It's part of being seductive. Um, and I would define
Yeah.
attractiveness privilege as an unearned benefit awarded to those whose physical appearance resembles societal standards of physical attractiveness. So and I think let's be blunt about it. We are shallow. We're a shallow society because we are superficial and it's
Mm.
all about appearance.
Mm.
So pretty girls always end up
In the front of the line.
in the front of the line. You
Mm.
go to a club, you come to the front,
Mm.
and it is what it
And in
is.
the workplace still, do you
And
think?
the workplace. So if you look at the TikTok trends at the moment, it's all about, our beautiful symmetrical faces, our lips, our eyes, the way we wear our long eyelashes, our luscious hair. And I spoke about my curves and all the right placing. And I think it is that there is a greater conversation that we should have about do pretty girls get the perks?
I do believe they do. I do believe they
I
do.
have only
I really
realized
do.
that it's working for me in my 50s. Had somebody
Mm.
told me that I had pretty privilege in my 30s, I would have probably been a VP
Mm.
of something
Yeah.
at the moment. For me, I had those opportunities, but I wanted to be the strong brown girl that could do
Mm.
this myself. And now all of a sudden, this pretty privilege is open up to me, and I know that I have access to things, and I am using it to my benefit, not because I can't do the work or I can't be in places that I'm supposed to be. But hey, if I have access, and if I'm using my pretty privilege, I'm also okay with that.
You are?
I'm okay as long as
Okay, look, I've
people.
never thought about it that way, to
Mhm.
be honest with you. I don't think I've ever thought about it that way. For me, I feel that it's a it's a very unfortunate thing, I think, that we have to have, but like any
But it's in
other
the
thing.
society we are living it
Yeah.
now.
So that's why I'm saying in society, there are so many things that are just so unfortunate and it shouldn't be that way. But the bottom line is it is that way.
Look, it is that way. So
Yeah.
for me, it's pretty people hold the key to a door of opportunities, connections, and choices which are shut, locked, and barricaded from others. But my pretty privilege does not come from me. I will use my pretty privilege for my tribe of women. And that is where I always say, got to take one for the team. I mean, I don't really mean it in that way, but it is not only for me. And I know that I'm actually proud of ensuring that I'm not doing this
It's
for
not
myself.
for yourself. It's something that you will
It's
use to
exactly.
benefit others.
So, Carrie Hilson wrote a song in 2010 called Pretty Girls Rock. So the words of the song say, all eyes on me when I walk in. No questions that this girl's a 10. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. My walk, my talk, the way I dress, it's not my fault. So please don't trip. I love
it's not
it.
your fault.
It's not my fault. I am just enhancing whatever is here. And, so don't hate me. Hate the game.
Yeah. But that's the thing. And that's what I'm trying to say. It's not you. You didn't create yourself. You are what you are. You look the way you do and all of that. So it's not your fault that society has brought that in as a privilege.
So beauty comes, for me, pretty privilege, beauty should come with some kind of talent, some kind of
absolutely.
intelligence.
I would hope so.
Some kind of social success. And I would think all the good things that comes with all of this. You can't just say, "Hey, listen, she's pretty," and then she's
because
kind
then it's
of
just
a bimbo.
nasty.
Exactly.
No, that's
so
just nasty.
I think it's not only about aesthetics. It really has to be about also moral judgments as well. So I think that's important.
Because honestly, for me, on a personal level, I have seen the most beautiful women or people, the exterior, the external, and they are just rotten people on the inside. So for me, the pretty privilege can then only work if it comes with the internal beauty as well.
Otherwise, very much so. And I think if we talk about how we have unleashed our inner goddess, it's really about, for me, and I've done lots of coaching and courses. The coaching that I've done about this intrigue and this mystique that came out is really, you possess the value ability to use both logical reasoning and your charismatic personality to persuade others, which can be a significant asset. However, at times people may find it challenging to comprehend your thoughts and intention. To advance your career, it would be beneficial to cultivate a more consistent approach in your communication style and demeanor, enabling your colleague and subordinates to understand and anticipate your behavior. Observe how you adapt your style in varying circumstances and pay attention to others' perceptions of you. This self-awareness will help you refine your communication skills and develop a more reliable and predictable professional persona. So observe everything around you. Let's think about making sure that we are propped and prim, having a smile on our faces when we need to, be confident. And I think just grasp at whatever opportunities that make you feel the goddess in you.
And sits well within your gut.
Thank you for joining us on Outspoken Owls. That was surely a hoot. Join us next time.